That, ladies and gentlemen, is only the introduction. Eh? If you want a series, and it's not on Netflix, it's in a book. We will.
Just before I sit down and disappear, there are two people who I want to give a book to for free. The person at the back there, you're going to get a book. And the most engaging, because I watch all of you, and the most engaging audience member. I mean, she laughed even at the crappy jokes. But she listened to every word, was this lady over here. So she also gets a free book.
Thank you, Prof. Always so generous at heart. We will allow only 3 questions to Prof, one from each side of the audience. So if you have a question and your hand is up first, all right, this gentleman go first.
Salim Kassam from Durban, Apex Asphalt Franchising. Thank you, Prof, to coming to Durban and sharing your insights. With the Gini coefficient, that's the gap between rich and poor in South Africa. We take gold status. We have the highest level of inequality in South Africa. Now, with education, you highlight about the 30-year gap. We are not making any difference. The rich and the poor are getting wider and wider. As you mentioned, what initiatives can be taken to limit that gap, bring inequality down, plus also what ideas can give to the business community to look at career development, that what industries need to enhance the job market, to bring poverty down. That's number one. Number two, I've seen of Parliament that the cleaners are looking for 100% increase, which means they'll be earning more than teachers. So should teachers become cleaners in Parliament? Just a quick question.
So the first thing I want to say is you're absolutely correct. The Gini coefficient in South Africa is the highest in the world, the inequality. It used to be Brazil. It's now us. So this is a huge problem. What I cannot do is change at the systemic level. That is, if you really want to change the stakes in terms of employment, in terms of inflation, in terms of, you're going to have to do that through a government. What I'm left with is what can we do, right? And that is why what I think Citizen Leadership Lab got correct is to connect the business community to schools. Why? Because there's very good data in the economics of education that shows that the private rates of return to education, as well as the public rates of return to investment in education, is the highest in the world in South Africa. In other words, if I do this through education, the reason I'm here today and nobody else in 10th Avenue Retreat is simply that a teacher took an interest in me and I responded to the crisis, to the challenge, and in this way I hope I have influenced thousands around the world, around our country, you know the story. So even though I'm just an individual, okay, and so invest in children, invest in schools, invest in teachers, and the rates of return. So I say to myself every morning, 1, 2, 3, 6 kids in the school. Even if I just reach a quarter of them, right? Their impact in community, just going to college, getting a good degree, being able to turn, is going to be huge for their families. That's the private rates of return. And of course, for the community, that's the public rates of return to investment in education. That is what you can do. In other words, you're in the right place to be able to do that. And don't spend your money on things that don't work, okay? Find out what the quickest route is to, so I know you're going to hate me for this, but I say this everywhere. If I was your Minister of Education, I would just drop LO. It's a rubbish, right? There are individual teachers, don't get me wrong, who are doing a good job. But in the system, despite LO, kids still don't know in grade 12 what career choices they have. You know that, I know that, especially in the poorer schools. The other thing you could do as business, I don't know if this is part of how you guys work, Kamarada, is if you say to me, what's the best way to get a kid to make choices around careers? Job shadowing. Put them in a mill in Pinetown, put them at Hewlett, Tonga, I don't know if they're still around. In other words, take 2 or 3 kids and say, come work here for the holidays in grade 11 before they even apply. And give them a sense of what the work. But to stand in front of a kid, right, from Kwamashu and talk about urban planning, it means nothing. Unless you've been in the work situation in some way. And so on. So that's how I would answer that.
Gentleman with the orange shirt. Just state your name.
Okay, my name is Pat Reddy. Thank you very much for enlightening us, Prof. It was very touching, very moving. It took us back in my youth days, what we were trying to do at that time, thinking that what we did then was right now, but when I see it now, I see it's the opposite way. What I want, two things I have to ask you. One is, and I admire you for this, how you changed things in the Free State University. We admire you for taking the stand there. And then the second thing, what is it that we as civil society here can do to change? Because the biggest problem is where it starts, it's in the early childhood development. The kids do not get the right nutrition. The brains are not developed. So how can we teach them? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pat. Look, I just want to tag on to one very important thing. Educational research, by and large, is equivocal on most things. They fight over everything. They can't even decide what the appropriate class size is for effective academic results. We don't have good research. It's not natural science. It's, you know. But the one thing we don't disagree on is that if you invest in the earliest years, there are spin-off effects that go quite far up into grade school. So if my first job coming back to South Africa in 1991 was to work with organizations, including one here in this province called TREE. Do you know TREE? Snooks Desmond at the time was sort of director of TREE. And they had made a huge impact. You know, this is still under the latter days of apartheid in terms of giving young children early learning opportunities and so on. I now do that around the country, in Viljoenskroon, in the Free State, within Tataise, Cape Town, and so on. So you're absolutely correct. The problem is this government puts the money and the politics at the wrong end of the chain. Do you know how much money just goes into grade 12, 11 and 12? The do you have bot programs? Do you have, yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot of money just to get the kids ready. The problem is 500,000 of them already dropped out between grades 2 and 12. We've got good data on that. So the way to do it, so what we're doing in Clutersville, which is a really underdeveloped part of the area around Stellenbosch University, we are now building, with Breadline Africa, preschools that connect to a primary school and giving the same training to those teachers so that by the time a kid gets to grade 1, they can do the following. They can read a book at the grade level. They know the telephone number of their mothers and fathers. They can give you the address where they live. They are able to count. You know what I'm saying? You begin there and build the foundations. That's why we called it the foundation phase, okay? So that the kids then can go on. If you're going to put your money anywhere, don't put it into matric. It's too late. Put it into a tree. I don't know if they still exist. They do, okay? And build the foundations for our children.
Thank you. One final question from this side.
Greetings, Professor, and greetings, everyone. My heart is pounding, Professor, because I'm one of the Jades. There's a lady that says I'm just Jade. I'm not an educator, but so-called the youth worker. We come into the schools to come alongside the teachers and the learners. Now, one of the things we do is teach LO, because the educators themselves, they feel that LO has no value. Now, Professor just mentioned that LO, you prefer that it will be taken out. But for organizations like the organization I work for, we've seen the results when we come into the school and we take over LO. We've seen children being transformed. We've seen children coming back to focus. Even after school, we still work with children who have done matric but are sitting at home and have no idea what to do. I teach LO even until today. I've seen some of my students going back to redo their matric because they have now realized this is their calling and this is the career path they want to take. My question is, for organizations like us, who get the call from the school to say, please come in and intervene. If LO is taken out of the curriculum, would you then advise the principal to work with NPOs like us? Because we are passionate. We take this business seriously. I think there are some organizations like TLT that I have also worked for, and we've seen the results. So all I'm asking is, can we then partner with the school to make sure that our children are focused and they are able to make career choices? Because sometimes when somebody comes from the outside, the children do give you that respect. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. So, and thank you for the courage to ask the question. So this is what I mean when I say take away LO. I don't want LO in a school committed to a single teacher or two as a school subject that you have to write exams about and which when you go to university counts 1 point. Okay? That's not what I mean by LO. I think LO happens when every teacher does what you're doing. You see, when I got raincoats because of people like you, for every one of those kids in a very difficult winter, okay, for me that's LO. When I went to sit and have dinner with Yusra's family, that's LO. Hugging a kid, okay, who just lost a father because of a gang fight, this is a real story, is LO. So I don't want LO to be institutionalized, if you know what I mean. I don't want it to be there, oh, I taught my LO. I want you. You see, if you show up every day on time for your class, that's LO. If you fix the windows in a class where the wind comes through and the kids get cold, that's LO. So I want LO to be a way of living, a way of learning, a way of teaching, as opposed to just a subject for 30 minutes, which is what you're doing, by the way.
May we ask you to put your hands together for our esteemed Prof. Prof, before you go, we have a small token of appreciation for you. But I just want to share with you, had Auntie Sarah been alive, she would have really had a bag full of chilies for you.
That's true.
Thank you, Prof. Just a small gift from Citizen Leader Lab.
You don't have to tell me it's small. Every year it gets smaller when I speak for you. Thank you very much.